Well, good evening. I want to say welcome to all of you. We are so delighted that you could come to our forum tonight here at the Chino Valley United School District. We are delighted to have all of you here. Those who are joining us online, we want to welcome as well. My name is Wayne Ballard. I am the current president right now of the Chino Valley Education Foundation. I have been invited to moderate this meeting and to help it as we go. As we're here tonight, we've got a series of questions that we would like to ask of our candidates, and we are delighted that they would take the time tonight to answer all of our questions and keep things going. There will be a lot of process tonight, a lot of questions that we're going to work through. So we are going to see if we can get this all done tonight in our allotted time. So thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and start. We've got three candidates, Marcia, Hilborn, Cyndi Thomas, and Dave Perey, and so delighted you all could be here tonight. The first thing that I would like to do is I want you just to give me a quick introduction to who you are, and just give me a few just introductory comments. How long have you been in Chino Valley? Give us some basic life information. Dave, Cyndi, Marcia. I'm going to start right over here with Dave. Dave, if you'd start with us tonight, just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Thank you, Wayne. I guess to start with, my name is Dave Perey, and I've lived in Chino Valley since 1995. I lived in the county since 1980. I was down in Mayor for some time before coming up to Chino Valley. I've served in this community 25 years in the Lions Club. I was principal of the high school for 8 years. My children went here. I have grandchildren in the system. My daughter graduated here, won a scholarship to the University of Massachusetts, and has done real well. I've been a teacher. I've been an administrator, a teacher for 25 years, both at the secondary level and then at the college level. I've been administrator for the difference, whatever that is, 19 and 44. But I've been in education a long time, and I've done a myriad of things in education, including subbing in second grade. And if anybody has been in a second grade classroom, all right, we don't pay those teachers enough. All right, I learned a thing or two there from a second grader. All right, but no, that's who I am. I'm pretty much retired now. I teach part-time at the college. I've taught welding. I've taught auto upholstery. I'm president teaching an agriculture mechanics class. I've been had many years with the FFA, had a lot of success there. I've been president of the Arizona Ag Teachers Association. I'm an honorary American farmer. I mean, honestly, in Chino Valley, I've had a great life, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve the community and the parents and the students that are here.
Great, thanks, Dave. That's really awesome. Cyndi, why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit, who is Cyndi Thomas?
Absolutely. So my name is Cyndi Thomas. I have been in Chino Valley for almost 18 years. It'll be 18 years in December. I've been married to my husband, Mark, for 33 years, and I have a great little family following here with us today. I'm seeking re-election for several reasons. As you know, I am currently a board member, and one of those reasons are I just don't feel I'm done. We have a lot of really good things that we have started, and I've been part of that process, and I want to see them completed. The other one, I think those of you that know I've been on the school board are thinking, why are you rerunning? You know, the chaotic and challenging times that we've had as school board members in the past couple of years probably should have told me to run really fast. However, it didn't. It told me to stay and continue my leadership within the district. As a parent of a high schooler and a grandparent of 2 territorial school children, I believe I have a strong sense of what the parents are asking for, what the parents are looking for, and how I can be an advocate for that. And not only an advocate for our students and parents, but for our teachers also. Then also as the Community Services Director for the town of Chino Valley, I bring organizational leadership and skills with dealing with the community and just community understanding and awareness. I encourage each and every one of you as you leave to find one of these pamphlets. It's what's great about Chino Valley schools. There's a lot in there, but let me tell you, there's a lot that's not in there. And I know this is supposed to be about me, but I got to tell you, I'm excited for this school district. We have served over 79,000 weekend meals to students that are in need. It's a pretty impressive number. We have one of the lowest dropout rates in Arizona, which is at 2%. And we have one of the highest graduation rates in Arizona, which is 92%. Now, I hope I sound like a cheerleader for the district because I am. I am now, and I will always be, as I promise you all, to be a cheerleader for not only our district, our parents, our students, our teachers, and staff.
Great, thank you, Cyndi. That's wonderful. Marcia, tell us a little bit about Marcia Hilborn.
Well, I've been a resident of Chino Valley for 40 years, been married for 50 years. I have 2 children that went through the school district here, and I've always loved Chino Valley. This has been home. The people are friendly. It's a safe place to live and grow a family. And I've got 30 years of teaching experience. I first got my feet wet working here in the school district. I was a parent aide in my daughter's kindergarten class. I substituted in the classrooms, and most of the time I was substituting in the special needs classrooms. And then I had a friend call me up, and she says, I'm starting a Christian preschool in Prescott. I want you to help me. So for 5 years, we started that school. I was assistant director and head teacher. My husband has a heart attack at 43. So I figured I better get something that has more stability to it. And so I went to Head Start, and I worked for Head Start for almost 25 years. I was a teacher, education mentor, where I trained teachers how to teach. I was a early Head Start home-based visitor, where I worked with pregnant teens and young moms in the homes with their babies. I was a center director, and my last position was a family advocate, working with families. So I've worked with families for so many years, understanding what their needs are, what their complaints were, and how to fix things. I would walk in a home one time. I remember this mom was crying. Her electricity was supposed to be shut off that day. So we made phone calls to get the right person to help her with her electricity, and she did not lose it. I'm still working with children. I'm helping out at Sweet Life Preschool over at Word of Life Church, and that's how I had this accident this week. But the child had I was holding an 18-month-old baby, and I tripped and fell with the separation of 2 different floorings, and held onto that child. He had no bruises or anything. I got 2 black eyes.
So
Face.
the sunglasses are not a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
It's for bruising,
Yeah.
sure.
This happened a week ago today, so,
And
and both my legs are really bruised. But it just shows I love children enough to protect them.
sure.
And when I was working with the pregnant teens in the homes, I realized, their needs. And I taught parenting skills. I even did marriage counseling sometimes.
Great.
So, and my education is I have 2 degrees, both in early childhood, and I'm also an ordained pastor.
Great.
I went through Bible school, and I'm ordained. And I'm very active in my church. I go to family church here in Chino Valley. And so I'll be singing at the
Oh, good. Praise in the Park.
Praise in the Park on Friday.
Excellent.
And I just want to say, I'm running for the school board for our children and our families here. And I do care about the teachers. I feel like they're underpaid. We're losing teachers because they can't afford to live here. And I feel like we should be able to do something to help promote that. The cost of living is going out of hand
Sure.
for all of us.
Sure.
And I just want to keep the good teachers here to help educate our children.
Good. Let's, I appreciate all of the introductory comments and what you're telling us. I have a whole series of questions. We're going to be touching on a lot of those things tonight. The first set of questions are board-related kinds of questions. And again, if we can keep them brief, we're going to start with Cyndi this time. Why are you running for the Board of Education? And part of that is what's your desires to see some of the things happen here in Chino? Again, I've asked a big question. If we can keep it short, that'd be
You
awesome.
want a 3-minute answer? to
I
a
want to.
20-minute
Yeah, I do. I
I
do.
can do that.
Good.
So I am seeking reelection for some of the reasons why I stated in the beginning. There is a lot going on with Chino Valley and it is all good. And I want to continue to make those good choices for our community. I do not have a background in education. However, I'm a parent. I've been a parent for 32 years, kind of have a background in education with that. I feel strongly about the parent connection. Again, I'm going to go back to the last couple of years. There was obviously, and I was in a part of that, there was obviously a lack of, I don't want to say support, but there was obviously a lack of support-ish communication between parents and the school district. And none of that was on purpose. It was circumstances, 100% circumstances. But as a parent myself, I feel some of the circumstances could have been possibly changed, not necessarily against rules. There are limited things that we as a school board can and cannot do. We have to follow the letter of the law. We have to follow what is mandated from the State Board of Education, which you all elect who those people are, and through the legislature. So some of the things that I would like to see accomplished is finishing the things we've started. Teacherage is a big one for me. Teacher housing. We cannot retain the level of teachers that we need, or teachers in general, if we do not have a place for them to live. And as of right now, which I'm sure many of you realize, the cost of homes are outrageous. A new teacher cannot come in and buy a home in this community on their salaries. So that goes hand in hand, teacherage, salaries. We have to find a way to increase teacher salaries without breaking the bank. The next thing that I am probably most concerned about is our school safety. I never thought in a million years I would sit up here and be concerned about my children's safety at school, but I am. We do have a strong safety system already in place, but as we've seen over and over and over in the media, that is not a strong enough safety. I don't know what the answer is to how we accommodate additional safety. Again, money is going to be a key factor. But whatever it is, as long as I am sitting on this dais, I will help to enact safety measures for all of our students.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyndi. Marcia?
I agree with Cyndi. I'm concerned about teacher salaries. I've lived in this town and my husband's a Vietnam vet who gets a disability and we don't have a big income and we've always struggled. And I would like, we want to keep the good teachers here, you know, the ones that are really teaching our children. And yeah, I was in a restaurant on yesterday and the waiter was telling us he had to move. And I says, well, where are you going to move to? He says, I have no idea. The landlord is doubling my rent the first year. He said, I can't afford it. And I go, you know, it's really a situation with that. And I have been at the board meeting when they discussed the housing, and I think it's an awesome idea to build housing or accommodate housing for our teachers that they can afford so they can stay here. I have been concerned about school safety too. I'm concerned because in the high school, the middle school, even at Del Rio, the kids have to go outside to change classes. And I had talked to some rangers that said they would definitely come here and donate their time to protect our children. So I was having an idea of having retired police, retired military and rangers. They sign up, they'd like to help. You know, nobody'd have to be here this every day. They could have like a sign-up sheet and bury the days and stuff that they could be here and protect our kids on the campuses. You just never know. There's our world is changing. Even small towns are having issues. So I would like to have more security here in our schools. And I'm excited about being on the board because I love the town. I love their schools and I love our children and I care about our families. I've always had good communication with families. I had to on my job. And I had a parent that had an issue. I did everything I could to help that issue go away and work together, because sometimes the parent has an idea that isn't right and you sit down, you talk to them about it. Instead of them feeling that the school board doesn't care about them, having an open time where the parents can communicate with us more and tell us what their needs are and
Great.
you know what their complaints are and see what we can get them.
Good, thank you. Dave?
Sure, I guess, I'd like to talk about, just real, well, not real quick, but I'd like to address that safety issue. Because it is important. I was here when Columbine happened. And went through that process and developed those procedures that would better identify individuals that may come onto campus and do and shoot kids. I was here on 9/11 and spoke to the student body in the gym on that terrible day. And again, we took the necessary steps to make sure that we didn't have propane trucks parking out front and those kinds of things. We just weren't sure what's going to happen. But I also got to say, I've come in and I've watched this board in action. And I am so impressed. I've been on the other side, Mr. Scholl's position. Okay, and I can tell you that this board is amazing. All right, they come prepared. They ask questions. They're thorough. And they do their homework. And we have an amazing board right now, and there's no doubt about it. Me, I'd like to be a part of that. Good. And hope to maybe contribute to that. You know, I have some interests. You know, one is to make sure we maintain strong academic programs. You know, Marcia mentioned not making a lot of money. You know, and you all have probably similar stories, but my dad finished 8th grade. You know, and because of public education, you know, I was able to go and support for college. I was able to go to the university and become a teacher. Okay, my son, okay, he graduated from Mayer High School, worked 19 years at Yavapai College, got his doctorate, and now he's executive vice president of Cochise College. But what I'm saying is public education can do that for us. And as long as you have people up here working for the kids, and their kids are their number one priority, you know, we can make sure that we have those strong academics. We need strong career and technical programs. Not everybody needs to go to university.
That's right.
They don't. We need strong extracurricular activities.
We got some of those more questions coming up for you a little later, Dave. Sorry, I'm not trying to, we got a whole long list. Marcia, I'm going to jump over to you this time. I know I asked hard questions and I want it short. Tell me this, Marcia, what is the school board member's role and responsibility? In other words, how does your role on the school board differ from that of a superintendent or a campus administration? How do you see the difference between that? You're not coming on as Mr. Scholl, but what do you see your role on the board?
I know we appoint the district superintendent. And I know our role is to approve any the curriculum that goes in all the schools. And I like to see curriculum where the children can excel in. You know, I know that our graduating kids, yeah, we have 92%, that's awesome. But their proficiency in reading is 48% and math is 43%. That's way below what should be. And I would rather see the children be able to excel. I'm against Common Core. I think it just messes children up. They're learning that 1 + 1 = 3 if they can prove it, instead of really realizing that 1 + 1 = 2, you know? And I think that if we get back to basics where the children can excel and the curriculum that we pick is one for them to do, that they enjoy school. I want the children to enjoy learning because this is a big part of their life. And if they decide to go on to college, you don't want them to have a really hard time in high school and I'm not going to go to college because it's too hard. I know there's other avenues. And I think we ought to prepare our kids for after graduation, if they want to go in the service, if they want to go to a technical school, if they want to go to college, whatever they want to do, like help prepare them for that.
Yeah, thank you.
You know?
Mr. Perey, what is the school board member's role and responsibility, and how does that differ from superintendent or campus administration?
Well, the quick answer is the board doesn't get in the weeds. All right, the management of the district is in the purview of administration. Okay, the position, the role of the board is to set policy, and in policies, there's a book. Well, actually, there's probably 2 books now, this thick, that outline how things are supposed to be done, from school safety to curriculum to you name it. It's in there. So the school board sets those policies and then make sure that those policies are followed. The school board hires a superintendent, and that's a pretty important thing. I mean, the leadership of the district, how the district goes, is very much dependent on that person. The school board sets the budget and prioritizes the budget. All right, and that's with input from community members, parents, whomever, is what are the priorities of the district. Now, this district, has set goals, has set priorities, does have a plan. So we are really fortunate that there are school districts out there that I've gone into that don't have budgets, don't have inventories. And my job in those particular cases was to straighten them out. All right. Here, what we need to do is provide the best leadership from the board level as far as policy and that, and support our teachers, administrators, every way we can, and the parents and the students in the community.
Great, thank you. Cyndi, what is the board member's role, responsibility? How does it differ from superintendent or campus administration?
Absolutely. The board's jurisdiction is to govern the school district, and the superintendent's is to manage the district. According to Arizona law, there are 2 main focuses of the school board. There are those that are mandated that we must do, and then there are some that we may do or can do. And some of the things that our duties are of the must do is to prescribe the policies and procedures, to oversee the policies and procedures. The budget, just as Mr. Perey was speaking about, to maintain the schools and to make sure that they are being cared for properly. to acquire the school curriculum. We approve, as Marcia was saying, the school curriculum. And on that note, I do want to state about Common Core that in 2016, the State Board of Education did vote to approve new curriculum that actually amended the Common Core. So Common Core is not taught in our schools, nor is it taught in public schools in Arizona.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that clarification as well. So the next question that we've got, we're going to be working down towards some of the more other hot topics and different hot buttons and so on. But one of the questions we want to know is where do you think that the Chino Valley United School District needs specifically to improve? And if you've mentioned some of the areas previously, we don't have to cover those grounds again. We'll touch on some more of these things, school safety, a little bit later. But Dave, do you have any specific suggestions, or is there anything specific in your mind as you're looking at this?
I started to talk about the career technical, all right? I think it'd be really, really nice to have an office on the high school campus that has a person in there from Yavapai College that is there for a couple of days a week, so students can go in and talk to them, and that person could assist with whatever planning, especially the senior year, getting applications done and things like that. And I did that in Salome and Western College. Actually, this is a school of 100 and some odd kids, all right, and Arizona Western had somebody coming over and be in an office for those kids. And some of those kids, from that school, have done amazing things because of that. I also, I want to work on prioritizing resources for teachers. I want to work on having the best co-curricular and extracurricular activities that we get. I think we need to have high expectations for teachers, and we need to provide the resources for them to get it done. And I think that we need to do whatever we have to do to continue to improve our communications with parents, community, and students.
Good, thank you. Cyndi, where does Chino Valley Unified School District need to improve, and do you have any specific suggestions for that?
So again, I'm going to say school safety. Again, we are not lacking in school safety, but we could definitely enhance our school safety. Everyone could enhance school safety. And then I'm going to piggyback on what Mr. Perey said. We need to take care of our teachers. Our teacher retainment is quite high, but at the same time, we do lose teachers. And one of the reasons why we lose teachers is because we can't pay them. We are very comparable in our salaries compared to other districts in our area. Very, very comparable. But they have the advantage of a larger town with more opportunities to live, to shop, and do everything else that a person of working age needs to be able to do. And in Chino Valley, that just does not allow it. So the teacherage, the teacher housing is very, very much something that I don't want to say we can improve on because we don't have it yet, but that we can build. And even once it's built, we can improve on that also.
Marcia, where does Chino Valley Unified School District need to improve, and do you have any specific suggestions?
Well, I know that they have some technical classes that children can take and come out with a skill, but I'd like to see that even improve. My sister that I lost 3.5 years ago, she had, when she was in high school, or her 3 years in at that time was 3 years, she went to beauty school and she came out as a beautician, a licensed beautician when she graduated. And I know that made a big difference in her life. And I know children don't always pick college. They rather do something with their hands. And I like to see that happen. I know that they used to have a culinary class in high school. I don't know if they still do or not. They do? Oh, awesome. Yeah. I remember having some of the baked goods and stuff from there. And that's just one instant, but I'd like to see that expand where children have more opportunity for different kinds of work, boys and girls, so, and I am concerned about the teacher pay, which I already mentioned, and school safety also. But I would like to see that technical school scholarship grow so that kids can come out of high school and be able to get a job right away and making good money. So,
Cyndi, we're going to back to you, starting again. In your opinion, what makes an effective school board member?
Thank you. Effective school board members are ones that listen to not only their constituents, but to the parents. They listen to their superintendent. The superintendent is our eyes and ears when we're not here. Most of us are here one time a month. Many of us do choose to tour the campuses or stop in, or we're signing papers or something else, but we're not here on the ground every day. So we need to rely on our superintendent, and we need to rely on what our superintendent recommends to us. Are we to question those? Absolutely. But we should be accepting of what our superintendent, our other staff, and our teachers ask of us. Another thing that makes an effective board member is just the availability. Be available, whether that be a school function or a private conversation. Now we have to remember there's open meeting laws within all of that too. So we shouldn't have conversations amongst us school board members, but with parents, if parents see you in the grocery store, you are a public figure and you need to speak with them and you need to answer their questions as best as you can and as accurately as you can. And the last thing a school board member, I'm going to say, should not be is Miss Promise Polly. They should not promise things to parents, teachers, and students that they cannot control.
Thank you. Marcia, what makes an effective school board member?
I think, excuse me, being active, and being part of and being available, like Cyndi was saying, but also being here for the parents and the teachers, having a communication with the superintendent. And if you have a parent have a complaint, you can just say, well, I'll see what I can do about that, or I'll talk to someone that knows something about that. You're right, you can't promise anything, but you do everything you can to help that parent, because you want to have a good relationship with the parents. You want the children to enjoy being here. This is a fun part of their life. School, they're learning, they're growing, they're experiencing things, and you want them to enjoy that. And I've always made learning fun. I know I worked mostly preschool, but I did everything I could to make learning fun in the classroom, and wasn't afraid to laugh, But I really think just being available and being part of the school and being at the school functions. My husband and I go to the football games a lot. We don't do a whole lot because our kids are out of school, but we still try to be part of the community. And the school is part of the community, a big part of the community. So we should shine for that. Our parents should be really proud to have their children in Chino Valley schools.
Dave, your turn. What makes an effective school board member?
Well, I can appreciate Cyndi's comment about don't promise,
Yes.
most of the time you don't have all the information, so you gotta be real careful about that. Even when dealing with kids, period, as a parent, one child gets all riled up about what happened, you talk to the other child and things are a little different. But a board member can kind of be a director. They can, tell parents, this is the process you need to go through to get your concerns addressed. Speak to this person, and if you're not happy there, then you can go here, whatever. So you can do that. All right. But as far as qualities, I think listening is a giant one, and that's fellow board members or community members, even students. I remember on our site council, we had a number of students, and believe me, they were not shy. And they had some good things to say, because they were the receivers of our educational process. Respect for the people that we work with. You got to be prepared. Come to school board meeting prepared to address the issues that are at that particular meeting. You need to contribute. You need to, sometimes, well, I don't really know a lot about this, so I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to be stupid. Well, yeah, and believe me, I do that. But when you're on a committee or a board, you put something out there, it's no longer yours. That belongs to the group. And so, can't get personally tied up with a point of view. Empathy, love of kids, big time. And lastly, you got to be inquisitive. You got to ask questions. You got to try to understand what we're doing and why, because you need to be talking. Somebody might ask you. And so you want to understand the why. I think makes a good board member.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. Marcia, we're going to jump over to you now. What do you see as the primary work, the primary mission of the school district?
Educating our children is a big the school, if we didn't have children, we wouldn't need a school district, but we do have children in that. And I think that's our biggest priority is of children, our families, our parents, having communication with them. And the education of our children is on the school district. Whether they succeed or fail is basically on the school district. And the teachers are part of that, of course. But the school district hires the teachers. The school district approves the curriculum for the children. So, it's a lot. There's a lot of responsibility. Even hiring the staff here, and making sure that we have the right staff and and that no child's going to get hurt by any staff member or anything like that. So it's important it's a lot of responsibility to know that school district is, you say, I'm just going to, but the education of our kids is the top priority.
Perfect. Dave?
I was reading I thought about this, and so I started reading some stuff, which is often dangerous. But I went back to 1917. We hear about back to the basics. Well, how far back do we go? But in 1917, it was for students to receive a good general education, the academic education. They said students should receive health education. They should become good citizens. They should be able to get along with people. They ought to be able to get a job. I mean, these are the kinds of things that if you will, the designers of our educational system said were important, and they're still important today, because education is the great leveler, or the word escapes me, but equalizer, the great equalizer. Okay, the great it's not about what you do. I know a lot of intelligent people that have chosen to do things other than higher education and that. But I think we need to continue to do that. And so, yeah, that's why we have education.
Excellent, excellent. Cyndi, once again, what do you see as the primary mission or the primary work of Chino Valley Unified School District?
So I think we all can agree education and quality, safety, safe education for all. And however, I have to do a however with that one. Our school district and our schools in general in the day and the culture that we live in has to go beyond education, has to go beyond learning, reading, writing, and arithmetic. It has to go to the fact that so many of our school children are home alone much of the day, if not all of the day when they're not in school. That many of our school children come from a one-parent family, or they're homeless, or they live with a grandparent or an aunt, or they're sleeping on their best friend's couch, or whatever the case may be. We need to embrace those children, all of them. It doesn't matter what their family life is or what their background is. And we need to be able to give resources for feeding and clothing and just taking care of our students, while at the same time making sure they get a quality education.
Great, great. Thank you so much for that. One of the challenges of being on a board is sometimes you end up with split votes. There is not always unanimity on any board. And so one of the questions is, can you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of? And part of that is why, what does that look like for you? So Dave, we're going to start back with you on this question. Could you support a board decision that you did not vote in favor of?
Honestly, that's one of the ones I left off of that list of a good board member. You know, and that's what being a member of the board means, is to have the debate, have the discussion, and then have the vote, and then move on. See, people don't understand sometimes that you can make a decision and try something, and it may work and it may not, but you can always go back and fix it. You know, you can always go back. You know, we tried that. You know, let's revisit that. So, you know, things are not always permanent. It's a decision with the best information you have at that particular point in time. And we do it all in our own lives. We make the best decisions possible for our kids, for ourselves, but things change. And sometimes you have to adjust. But yes, you need to support board decision.
Cyndi?
I would absolutely support it. I think everyone needs to realize that everyone sitting up here is one voice of five. However, we each have our individual voice. So we need to respect what people's decisions are and move on and make sure that whatever it was, whether it was voting to approve or voting to deny, whatever the situation is, that we follow through with that as a unity, even though it wasn't a continue or a 5-0 vote. But on the other hand, that's where the superintendent comes back into play in my mind. The superintendent should never be giving us anything, and I'm telling you, we have a fantastic superintendent, should never be giving us anything that the research has already not been done for us. We should not go into a meeting not looking at our agendas and not knowing what's on there and be taken by surprise when someone doesn't vote like you do, that someone doesn't understand the issue that's put in front of them. So yes, I absolutely would support others. But and then after that, just move on and follow through with what it is that we chose to do.
Marcia, could you support a board decision you didn't vote in favor of?
Yes, I would, because the majority wins. And I also believe that, you know, they're here to support each other. I mean, I would hope that you would be able to voice why you don't approve or something. But then if it's approved by the board, then you have to accept that. And like Dave was saying, maybe it won't work out and you go back to plan B and see, well, maybe we could do this to change that, you know. But I think that the board is one voice together, and we have to stick together and understand each other, have different views because we're different people, but also come out, you know, just like a marriage. You don't always agree, but, you know, you come out and say, okay, you know, we're going to get through this and, you know, and work together on it. So that's the way I feel about it.
Good, thank you. And the last kind of board kind of question, it's starting to shift a little bit more into more specifics, but Cyndi, we're going to start with you. What should the school district do to better prepare students as citizens? I think Mr. Perey mentioned, a little bit ago of not just preparing classwork, educational, that I know the quadratic formula, but as citizens of our country.
I think, number one, I think our school district does do a good job. However, on a whole, throughout the country with school districts, we do see it all the time. We did get away from citizenship when we were all in school and got that big old E for effort in citizenship, or earned the Citizen of the Month award, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I feel that we are too focused on the standards and meeting those standards, and teachers have so many hours in the day to ensure that they are meeting those standards that sometimes the human factor goes away. I am a big proponent or a big advocate for athletics, extracurricular, whatever the case may be, that builds teamwork. Teamwork equals citizenship. Teamwork equals being a good citizen. Teamwork equals being a good person. I know in our family, we have always encouraged athletics, primarily because we are both athletic people, or athletic focused. I am not athletic. Or extracurriculars of some sort. Get involved. We need to encourage our children to be involved in something so that they can leave this school or graduate from this school and be able to go out into the world and be able to succeed on their own.
Good, thank you. Marcia, what should the school district do to better prepare students as citizens?
Well, I know in 8th grade, they're taught the Constitution. But I'll tell you what, I just took 11-week class myself not too long ago. And I was enlightened at what the Constitution really says. And I think if we went through that more than just 8th grade, and I think high schoolers need it more before they enter the world, to know what they are as American citizens and what their rights are. And also, I agree with Cyndi, having the children get involved in some kind of club or group that they can excel in, and be part of, and understand that it's just not them, that they're sharing things with other people. And some children come from like the only child. They've never had to share before. And, and understanding that they have to take turns and share. And I'm even talking about not just elementary school, all the way into high school. So understanding that, they can be part of a group and feel like they have something to contribute. And then they can realize I have something to contribute to my country. And understanding what it is to be a citizen in this country. And we are very blessed to be living in this country.
Great. Dave, what should this school district do to better prepare students as citizens?
I have so much to say about it. Listen to what Marcia said, and certainly the Constitution talks about rights. But another thing, and a very, very important thing, is responsibilities.
Yes.
We need students to understand the system and how it's supposed to work. I served as inspector for the primary race Baptist, and that was an eye-opening experience. Really, I mean, how involved it was, and all the checks and balances that were in that system. Well, if you've never done that, you just don't know what's there. But the other thing I like to talk about, we need to know that, and they need to, but I taught ag, so I was an FFA advisor. And part of the ag program, we taught kids how to speak in public. We taught kids about parliamentary procedure. All right. We taught kids how to conduct a meeting. We taught kids how to attend a meeting, how to go to the legislature and testify before a committee. And if we can do those things and do some hands-on type things with regards to citizenship, there's service. We did service activities, and the athletes do service activities. But this is our community, And we have responsibilities and we need to contribute. And that's what citizenship, they need to lead with, is understanding their responsibility to contribute to the whole, not to the me.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We're going to start now with some more specific issues that there's some questions on. We are going to be talking about sports and fine arts and special ed and all those types of things. However, we want to start with a really fun one. And Marcia, it's going to be up with you first. What are your thoughts on the current and proposed budget? We're going to talk a little bit about budgets because money, money, money. But what are your thoughts on the current and proposed budget for the school district?
Well, I think we have a good budget, but I was concerned at the last board meeting that Mr. Scholl mentioned, well, we might not have school after April 1st because of a budget thing. I don't understand it all. I'm trying to understand it, but he said that we had to have so much money set aside, we can't use it. And I'm going, that doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever that is. I'm concerned that children won't have school after April 1st to get through May, that's 2 months of school, or 6 weeks anyway, that they should be in school, and if there's no budget for that. So I think that we have to be very careful how we spend our money and frugal as far as, how money is spent. And because this money is given to the school district and it's not to be wasted. And I think there's some top priorities that have to be met, but I think that it has to go through each one and see which is the most important and which are some things that we can set aside, maybe till next year or something. But anyway, it's a big responsibility, and I know just balancing my own checkbook can be so hard sometimes. But I'm just saying that, that when I was concerned about what was brought up in the school board meeting, and they said they had the same problem last year and they worked it out. So I'm praying they can work it out this year so our kids can be in school to the end of the school year. So
Right. Some of the challenges you're talking about were actually from the state legislature, not from the
okay.
district level. And unfortunately, the state legislator decided they were going to play chicken with the school districts and with the kids, and they were going to do that. It was a political mess. In a moment, just to prime you as well, I'm going to ask specifically as well, where your priorities, where would you make cuts, where would you not make cuts? But we'll get to that in just a minute. What are your thoughts, Dave, on the current proposed budget for the school district?
What I see is a very balanced budget. I see that the budget, it addresses the priorities of the district. All right, that they have their goals, we have our goals, okay, and that we apply money to those things to get things done. We've tried to, as best we can, and to take care of teachers, faculty, and staff. Okay, we try to take care of facilities. All right, we're trying to move ahead on some pavement type things and some of the budget things with regards to the housing. So they're addressing, the budget is addressing the I guess the needs, want, and desires of the district as best it can in a balanced way.
Yeah. Cyndi, what are your thoughts on the current proposed budget for the school district?
There's never enough money. There is just never enough money. However, as Dave said, we have a complete balanced budget. We are meeting most of the needs that we can. We are meeting most of the wants that we can. As I stated before, that we have comparable salaries for our teachers throughout the Tri-City area. We do a very good job at paying our teachers with the budget that we have. I don't want to call it creative financing, but there are funds that other schools use in a different way that we may use them for, and we put it directly into our teacher's salary, which enhances our budget. We have a tremendous finance director that keeps us going, keeps us on top, and makes sure that the budget is always balanced and that it is, that we are able to do the things that we need to do within the budget that's given to us.
Thank you. Dave, we're gonna come back to you now. On your budget priority, sorry, here we go. Where would you look to make cuts? Where would you not make cuts? Just give us a snapshot.
Yeah, that's a really tough question because there's so much that goes into, that type of thing. But before, I'll tell you what, we may at some point in time have to make cuts, but the first thing I would do is look for outside money. And I think that this district has tried to do that with grant money and things like that before I'd ever get to cuts. But I'll quit hedging the question. All right. I think back when things got really tight, one of the things they went was pay to play. That's one of the things that full support of those programs, as important as they are. I think you ask individuals not individuals, but co-curricular activities to support themselves with outside donations. I think there's a bike racing club that's done some of that, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think that you hit those, you're gonna hit the extracurriculars, co-curricular stuff first. I mean, that you're not gonna get rid of it, but you're gonna figure out another way to support it.
Good.
That's as good as it's gonna get.
I realize that some of these budget questions are a little difficult, but
In the
they're important.
yeah.
So Cyndi, now to you, in your budget priorities, where would you look to make any cuts? Where would you not ever make cuts? What are there some priorities that you can help us with, like Dave?
In the priorities, our priority would be to not ever make cuts. Number one priority. However, in a perfect world, I should say, that would be our number one priority. There are going to be times, I am very fortunate, I have not seen many of those times, but there are going to be times when that's going to happen. There's several options. None of them are good. Every option that you have when it comes to cutting a school district's budget impacts our students in some way, shape, or form. If we have to make teacher cuts, that cuts the quality of education that our children are getting. If we have to make extracurricular cuts, we're cutting that good citizenship that we just talked about. If we have to make salary adjustments, again, that goes into the quality of the teaching. So when and if we ever have to, or hope never have to, make budget cuts, I think that I cannot answer where I would look at to cut that budget at that particular time. It would be depending on the circumstances, where we are, and what exactly and how much exactly we would need to cut.
Marcia, same question. What are your budget priorities? Where would you look to make cuts? Where would you absolutely not make cuts?
I would not make cuts on the teacher salary. I think that's really important. We keep our teachers, because without our teachers, we don't have an education. And I understand the extracurricular activities of kids. I don't like to see any of that. I remember when they cut out music, sports and all that, and it did make an impact on our children. And music's important. The arts are really important. And our sports are important. I think I would go through the budget to make sure there wasn't any waste anywhere, just go through it like with a fine-tooth comb and see, is there any waste here? Are we wasting any money anywhere? And start there and then decide what has to be done. But I'm with Cyndi. I think the kids need that. They need sports and need those things. we're preparing our children to be adults and go out in the world and be on their own and be examples. We're the examples we're setting for our kids. We're the citizens that are setting the example for our children. The parents, the teachers, the staff here, they're a big part of the children's lives. And if we make cuts, that could affect them later in life too. So, I just would hate to see that, but I don't know what's coming in our future. So the first thing I would do is go through that budget with a fine-tooth comb and see if there's any waste there.
Good. I do appreciate all these. I know that's a really difficult question to answer tonight. The level of complexity with budgets in schools and the number of different funding venues and budgeting and all of that is a Herculean challenge, to say the least. And so we do appreciate hearing that. Sometimes it's very difficult to even understand all of the budgeting process. Thankfully, Chino Valley does a great job with their finance department and so on, and they do very well with that. But these are things that we are curious about. Just kind of want to find out your opinion on a few other things here. Again, these don't need to be long answers. You've already given us some of the information on some of these things, but I just want to bring them up again just quickly. Can you, sports, fine arts, CTE vocational programs, Cyndi, what would you like to see?
Yes to all the above.
Okay.
Again, they're important. They're an important part of our curriculum. As it's been stated many times before, all kids are not college material. All kids do not want to go to college. All kids do not succeed in college. And our ultimate goal is to have our children succeed. And if that means they need to learn a trade, and I shouldn't even say if that means, if they want to learn a trade to do that, yay, let's encourage that. Let's continue with our career and technical education programs. We offer, and I would not even be able to begin to tell you all the offerings of what our CTED program offers, or career and technical CTED program offers. I cannot even begin to fathom the idea of not having sports. Sports is just an integral part of child development. As Marcia stated before, those children that may be only children, that's their only time to learn what being a part of something bigger than them is. And that prepares them for the world. So yes, to all of the above to make a successful adult.
Excellent. Marcia, sports, fine arts, CTE, vocational programs.
All of them, they're very important in our kids' lives. And you're not going to find kids that want to be in sports, but they want to do something else. They want to be in music. They want to play an instrument, or they want to sing in the choir, or they want to be in a debate club or something like that. We should have things like that for our children, so they want to succeed. We want to see them succeed. We want them to succeed as adults, and that's what our job is. That's what I was putting out before. But yeah, I'm with Cyndi. I don't think we can do that. I like to see them expand if at all possible.
Yeah. Dave?
Wow, yes to all of them, of course. But the way I look at it is I'd like to have as many different opportunities that we can provide for students, whether it be music, art, they can find a niche. They can find a place that they can connect with an individual with, that they can be successful. You can build on that success then for the other areas, for the academic areas. But it's so important. There's so many. You all know and have had kids or whatever. Some are strong in writing and reading, and some are strong in math, and some are just great in music and art. And let's build on those talents that those kids have. I mean, I get goosebumps. You go to a school play. I mean, it's watching those kids perform, listening to a choir. I mean, it's goosebump time. Yeah, these things are so special, and we need to do everything we can to support those things at all levels.
Great, thank you. The next question is along those lines. But, specifically, Chino Valley, how are they doing with special education, English language learners, and gifted students? And what do you think possibly some room for improvement or change? Is there anything along those lines? Special education, English language learners, and gifted students. Marcia, you're up.
Me first.
Of course.
My son was in the gifted program for math. He went into ASU for math competition. And I forget the day the girls were killed down here in Road One South. He was at a math competition that day. And, but anyway, yes, we have to have teachers that can handle children with special needs. We have children that are coming with autism all the time. The children that are coming here from different countries that can't speak English. But I did find out, having 1 year, I had 18 kids in my class, and half of them didn't speak English. Within 3 months, all the kids were speaking English because they got drowned into the language. And anyway, I think that's the best way, is get them involved with other English-speaking children so they learn the language. And it vice versa happened. I had a parent go in and complain that his son was learning Spanish, and he was mad because we only speak English in the United States. And the director says to me, "Don't you worry about it." He was pulled his kid out of my class because the child was picking up Spanish. But I think that's great when children learn from each other. That children learn from each other more than they do anyone else. And sharing and caring about each other is great. But we do need teachers that can handle children with special needs. The gifted program, those children need to have their brains going all the time, because they'll get idle, oh, I know how to do this. And so they won't excel to the next level because they're happy where they're at, but they have to be pushed a little bit. I found that out with my own child. But, and it's really important for them to be, what do I want to use? I hate being up here. No, teasing. They have to be challenged, yeah. So,
Dave, special ed, English language learning, gifted students. How are we doing?
The only thing I've looked at is test scores, and honestly, those test scores right now, I don't put a whole lot of, because of the COVID thing and what have you. We gotta give kids a chance to regroup and catch up and what have you. But let me just say, I don't know how they're doing. Okay, to be frank with you, I have not looked into that as far as the district is concerned. I do have some experience. I don't know if all teachers are still required to do ELL training.
Yes.
Yes. So you get all teachers are doing something in their classrooms to help ELL students, and then they may have some pull-out programs for ELL. And certainly, in the past, their special ed programs have been some of the best I've ever seen, as far as the moderately to severely handicapped. I just tell you a story. If I was having a bad day in the principal's office, I'd head down to the moderately to severely handicapped kids thing, and I'd sit there and I'd watch those kids, and they were all so happy. And I said, you think to yourself, these guys are going straight to heaven. They can do no wrong. It's pretty special. But I think this district has a history of doing great things for the special populations.
Cyndi?
Well, as we all know, not too long ago, special education children could not go to a traditional school because they were considered different. Spanish speaking or foreign language speaking students would not get the same education as our children would because they were considered different. Thank goodness for the 1975 act that President Ford signed for the Education for All Special Education Children Act. But with that being said, we have a fantastic program. Our special education is top notch. People come here for our special education programs. Our ESL, 2/3 of our school children are not English speakers. I almost said Hispanic speakers, but that's not the case. There are many others that are not just Hispanic speakers, and they get the same education that all of the other children do too. Possibly, maybe even because they're learning that much harder, maybe a tad bit more, because they're trying, because they want to learn it. Our school system is amazing at all of our specials. Our high school scores show it. Our high school graduates show it. Those that graduate with college credits, those that have graduated with an associate's degree or are close to having associate's degrees, they're amazing. Our school district does a great job with our special populations.
Good, thank
Can
you.
I add something?
Sure.
I was gonna say, I used to work with the special ed children here. And I worked with the TMH children to the ones that were in the classroom too. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed it. Those kids are special. One of my kids I used to teach died last year, COVID. But but anyway, I had him when he was in kindergarten and his Down syndrome. But I just, you never forget them, because they touch your heart.
Absolutely. Very good. All right, so let's have some fun. Here we go.
We're not-
Dave, this is for you. We're going to start with you. What is the role of schools in teaching children about topics such as sex education, cyber safety, societal issue? We'll talk a little bit later about critical race theory and woke and different things, but wellness, bullying. What is your opinion of the role of schools in teaching children those topics?
I think schools need to teach age-appropriate information to those levels, to students. Yeah. I think, they're gonna hear it from a professional, or they're gonna get on their phone and hear it from their friends, or who knows what. So I think some guidance in those areas is perfectly appropriate. Now, the board approves those things, parents have input, and I don't know right now if there's a permission in and permission out for some of those things, but there was at one time. But I think it's a responsibility of school to help fulfill some of those needs.
Let me read it again. Cyndi, I'll read it for you as well, Marcia, in a moment. What is the role of schools in teaching children topics such as sex education, cyber safety, social, societal issues, wellness, and bullying?
So in today's culture, I believe it is the utmost responsibility of the school district to teach all of those. I'm going to home in on sexual education, which in our school district, it's called family life curriculum. Going to throw some statistics at you. 20% of our children live with their grandparents. 403 of our children are homeless. And again, we went over the definition. That can be a one-parent home, living on someone's couch. It can be all sorts of other things. When I was a child, I had both my parents, and I'm going to guess a large majority of the people in this room had both of their parents, and we had someone that could talk to us about it. Our children today do not have that person in their life that they can go to and ask questions, that they can get accurate information from, instead of their, science buddy next door to them. I think it's critical that we educate our children on that. I feel it's, again, I just have to say it is our responsibility, because if we do not do it, these children are not going to get that education. Now, I also have to be very, very clear in saying that our program is an abstinence-based program, which is what all family health issues should be. However, that is a small portion of what our curriculum is. A very large majority of it is just on your body, you know, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, how you grow, what happens when you're growing. And again, for girls in particular, if you do not have a mom in your life to explain that stuff to you, you have no idea. I think back on, some programs I watched as a teenager where, oh my gosh, I may be pregnant. Well, how do you know that? I kissed a boy. We need to be better. We need to make sure that kids know that that's not how it happens. We're not out there to instruct them how to have sex. We're there to instruct them to not have sex. Yeah, it might be one of my little soapboxes. I'm very passionate about it. So, yeah, and as far as all the other things go, I think it is the role of the district to not necessarily educate, but definitely promote those things such as bullying. Again, I'm going to use in today's age and culture, you cannot dismiss a threat or a claim about bullying. You need to check it out to the utmost of your ability. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Good, thanks. Marcia, again, what is the role of schools in teaching children about topics such as sex education, cyber safety, social, societal issues, wellness, bullying?
Well, I agree with Cyndi and Dave, but I also believe that the parents are the first teachers. And maybe we do have children that are homeless or living with other relatives. I understand that. But a majority of the children are living with their parents in their homes. And I think that a lot of those things should be taught in the home first. If they're not addressed in the home or having an issue at school, then I think the principal of the school or the teacher should call the parents and say, this is what's going on with your child. And instead of the parents saying, my child never does that, the parent better listen, and because it's important for them to know what their children are doing. I worked with pregnant teens for 10 years, and I can tell you it's a very difficult job. And I had girls that every time they got a new boyfriend got pregnant. And I had to address that with them and say, do you realize what you're doing to yourself? And one of the girls that I worked with for so hard and so long got married 2 years ago after having 3 children. I was just so happy that her life turned around. But it was just, you put yourself out there to help these children. And the school district can do so much, but a lot of the teaching comes from the home, whether it's good or bad. And I know it's the job of that school to realize if the child's getting bad teaching at home, let's talk about this. But if the child's getting the right kind of teaching at home, I don't think the school really has the right to come in and say, this is the way you should be teaching your children. Give the parents the first part. I am a firm believer that the parent is the child's first teacher. And I also believe when it comes to CRT, if the children learned who they are as American citizens, we wouldn't have an issue. The Constitution states we are all created equal. It doesn't matter what color skin or what.
Let me ask this question. We've got a question from the audience here tonight, specifically about critical race theory. And let's see, it looks like Cyndi, you're up first.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Would you describe, here's the question, would you describe CRT and how it is impacting our district today?
So mine is going to be a very short, sweet answer. My stance and the school district, or is the same as the school district stance on CRT. It is not taught, it has not been taught, and it will not be taught in our schools. Recently, Governor Ducey signed a bill banning CRT in schools and in state-run agencies. I'm done.
Okay. Marcia, same question. Critical race theory. How would you describe CRT and how it is impacting our district today?
It's not impacting our district. Our district's on top of it. But there's other school districts, even in Prescott, that are not. And there are teachers in the Prescott school teacher district, yeah, it was brought out that there are some teachers putting CRT in their lesson plans. And, but like I said, if the children were taught Constitution and know what their rights are as American citizens, it wouldn't be needed. It wouldn't be needed anyway, because they would have the ability to say, I know American citizen. And if anybody looks at the color of your skin and says, just because you're a different color, that's ridiculous. It's what's in the heart. You know, this is just genetics, pigmentism, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter. And always, and all the children I've ever taught, I never looked at a child because whether religious belief or the color of their skin or the language that they taught, that didn't matter. That child was a child that I was going to teach.
Dave, your turn. Would you
Yeah,
describe CRT and how it's impacting our
Yeah,
district?
I've got to land with Cyndi on this one. It's not taught in district. It's not going to be taught in district. I mean, I mean, we've got, yeah, so that's.
I'm thankful for that
Okay.
too. Yes.
Good. In our remaining few minutes, we've got a few other questions that I've been handed. The first one, and it looks like I'm back to Marcia. I'm trying to keep it straight so I play fair. Have you seen the new curriculum for science and social studies for the grade school to middle school? And if you have, do you have any opinions on it?
You know, I haven't. I was going to get in here to do it. I will say this much. I do respect our board to pick out a good curriculum for our kids to learn. And I'm going to take the time. I've had a very busy schedule lately, and last week kind of put me behind and everything when I got hurt. So, but anyway, I will do that. I came in and looked at the family life curriculum.
Great.
And so I plan on doing that one.
Dave, have you seen the new curriculum for science and social study grade school and middle school here at the district? And if so, any?
I have not.
Okay.
I haven't. In the interest of time, I'll let Cyndi speak.
I was one of 5 voices that approved it. I feel that it is a very appropriate and fine curriculum for our grade school.
Okay, thank you. Next question that I've got is, which is more important to you, structured policies to achieve school rating or targeted measure for every student's success? And I think we're on to you, Dave, here. I'll repeat the question. Which is more important that we are kind of the mindset policy? Do we work on structured policy to achieve a school rating? Or are you more concerned about targeted measures for every student's success?
Well, I think if we take care of students, the other will take care of itself. We need to, you know, one of the things that we talked about was why do we have education? I think was the question, and Cyndi followed up with some things that, in addition to the general education, the vocational, you know, the things that, and I call them barriers to education. So are receiving an education, getting in the way of learning. And we absolutely have to address those. If we take care of those for the students, the scores will take care of themselves. So I'm interested in kids. Kids are my priority.
Cyndi, which is more important, structured policies to achieve a school rating or targeted measure for every student's success?
I think it's a very circular question. You almost cannot have one without the other. We need to enact strong policies that ensure good grades or good learning, good education, great education for our students that will exceed in their scores to improve our school rating. So it all goes hand in hand. You almost cannot have one without the other. If I had to do it first, though, it would always be students first.
Okay. And Marcia, structured policies to achieve school rating or targeted measures for every student's success?
Well, if you target each child and how they learn, because each child learns differently, then you'll have a student success. And I really believe that, because I've worked with children that learn hands-on. Worked with children that when they read, they observed and they remembered. And I remembered, I worked with children that did not work. They had to do other ways to learn. And if you work with each child individually on how they learn, and they learn everything, then you're going to have an A+ school. So,
Good. Let me ask a follow-up question, and I hope I'm catching some of what they're asking in this. Just a 30-second answer. Tell me what your feelings are. There's been a huge emphasis in the last 10, 15, I don't care, 20 years, whatever you pick, on testing. That testing is the final rubric. And I know I'm asking really hard because we only have 5 minutes
No.
left.
Yeah,
But-
but testing, in my judgment, okay, we should be using testing to assist instruction. We test to find out what the student knows. We test to find out if we met our goals as a teacher. We test to reteach, all right? The rest, I guess you need to compare school. I guess we need to compare, but I think the high school now is using the ACT. So that's a good measure across the nation about how we're doing. So that information is good too, and we use that to teach. So it's all about getting feedback from the students so that we can be better teachers.
Cyndi?
I'm 100% on board with Dave. I've already stated, I feel we spend too much time trying to achieve the standards that are set before us. Children learn differently. Some children memorize everything they need to know so that they can get good scores on those tests. Then the next day you ask them what those questions were, and they're going to say, I have no idea. So we need to be able to instruct our children to retain the knowledge and be able to then recite and go out and live the knowledge.
I understand what Dave's saying too, because you don't know what a child knows until you test it, test a child. But, I was just saying about how children learn differently. One time I was here at the school, I had children that couldn't read. So I was reading the questions, the test to them, and they would give me the answers, and they were retaining it, but I had to write it down for them because they couldn't read or write. And, but anyway, however, there's different ways of testing a child to see what they know. You don't have to just give them a piece of paper with questions to answer. That works well with some children, but not with every child. So,
Good, thank you.
That's a great question. I really appreciate that question.
Good. I've got two more questions that I've been handed, and I just want to follow up with them real quick. We've got about 3 minutes left. So remote learning, would you have remote learning and the children in masks again? Cyndi, we're going to start with you.
No. We learned that it did not work.
never.
I'm going with Cyndi on this.
I got to piggyback though.
Good.
If we are mandated to do that, we are
If it's
mandated
the
to
law,
do
you
that.
gotta
Our
do it.
hands are
The
tied.
challenge is if that's what you've been instructed and you must do, then that's what we
If
must do.
it was a
But
choice,
again,
absolutely not to.
again, okay. Final question, it's one of those topics that's becoming more and more of an issue. It's the concern about allowing people with alternative sexual orientation. Would you allow them to speak to children? If so, what age? There's a myriad of other questions that I've got a minute and a half to answer, which I can't get them all done, but just if you want to speak just briefly to some of the challenges that you see with some of those issues and how the school district.
Wow, you left, you.
I know, I left the big one for last, right? It was handed to me late. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's fine. As far as letting them speak, letting someone, I guess my thoughts on this, and I hadn't thought about that, all right? And certainly it would be controversial, and certainly if we did that at all, it would be some conversation about age appropriateness. You know, I would have to really have an in-depth discussion with it, to feel comfortable, depending on where we were at. Now, we have all kinds of students in our schools, all right? And I think no matter where that student is landing, we need to be kind, we need to respect, we need to offer the same educational opportunities. They need to be safe within our schools. As far as bringing somebody, you know, I'm
Cindy, Marcia, any other?
I'm gonna
Cindy?
try to be brief. I will try and sum it up the best I can. Title IX of the education codes that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. We receive federal financial assistance. I do agree that it should be on an age-appropriate basis. And then the last one is the Arizona State Constitution says that, and I'm going to paraphrase because it's a long paragraph, that if there is a public school, we are to educate each and every person equally.
Marcia?
This is a person from the outside, right? It's not a child you're talking about in the classroom.
Yeah, it looks like this would be someone from the outside. Would you include or allow alternative sexual orientation person to speak to children? And if so, what age?
One, I would let the parents know that someone wants to do that. Because I would expect the parents to be able to say yes or no. They have a choice whether they want their child to be able to be with that person. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just saying that, you know, but since it's a person on the outside and it's not into the bylaws or the laws there, I would say no, you know, because I think keeping our children safe and, you know, I know we have children that are, you know, in different sex orientations and everything, but to promote it inside the school, I'm against that.
Well, I apologize. Time has gone. It hasn't gone quickly enough, I'm sure, for our three candidates. This is such a, you know, it's a challenging seat to be in tonight and dealing with some difficult questions, some fun questions to deal with and talk about philosophy of direction and things. But I do want to say thank you so much for being here tonight, and we appreciate you. And we want to wrap up tonight. We want to invite you to come out and greet those who are here. If they have questions, we ask them to allow them. Again, I'm Wayne Ballard with the Chino Valley Education Foundation. For all who could be with us tonight, thanks for being a part of this. Thank you to our candidates. We do invite you to get out and vote.
Yes.
Come on, get out and vote.
Yes.
Make a decision to vote. So thanks so much to the candidates. Have a great night.
We would also thank